Okay, so the question is, what does daily practice consist of? From my point of view, there are versions of the awakening path where there's a very kind of strict, laid out regimen. You wake up in the morning and you sit at the edge of your bed and you immediately start reciting this mantra or so forth. And I've practiced in that way. I've had a number of teachers, and some of them have recommended that kind of routine. And you say this prayer over your meal, and you do this meditation then, and you do this many repetitions of this mantra and so forth. And there's a value in all of that. There's a value in all of that. Otherwise, people wouldn't do it. But it's also true that if you're too strict with it, if it's too rigid for you, and I think ultimately only you can know what's too tight for you, then it gets to be just another, a slog, another slog. The Buddha, all the great sages, all the great teachers, they came to relieve human suffering, not to add to it. Right? Not to add to our labor. There's a wonderful line in the Gospels where Jesus says, my yoke is light. The yoke, the thing they would put on like two oxen to yoke them together to pull the cart. My yoke is like there's some yoke. There's some yoking ourselves to the program, but it should be light. We should carry it lightly. I think we should remember that it's the whole point of the thing is joy, freedom, peace, relaxation, and to say, well, I'm just going to work hard and I'm going to just get myself more stressed now on the promise that someday things may become more relieved. For me, that doesn't work. So I think there is a value in having a sense of commitment to daily practice. In Buddhist parlance, this is called samaya. Samaya, this kind of commitment. This is something that you do every day that makes you feel like, okay, I'm not just here in this life hanging around. I'm here in this life waking up. And to me, the minimum is to sit down and meditate every day, even for a few minutes. There's a number of things we do every day that don't make us feel constricted, right? Probably you brush your teeth every day. Probably you take a shower or a bath every day. And it doesn't feel like a burden. It's just, okay, that's something I do because it makes me feel better. Brushing my teeth makes me feel better and makes it easier for other people to be around me. So in that sense, daily meditation, we can take it as, okay, I'm brushing my consciousness. And I feel better. And other people feel better being around me. When I'm less stressed, when I'm more easygoing, when I'm more sharp, when I'm more naturally compassionate. So I think it's great to have, just as with brushing your teeth or taking a shower, have a usual time of day. So it becomes just a part of the routine. It's not like, no, I got to add this extra thing. It's, okay, this is what one does in the morning or in the evening, whatever time works best for you. Some people like to meditate twice a day. That's great. But I would say minimum of sitting down, meditating once a day. And fortunately, with the approach that we take to meditation, this natural approach, we don't have to sit for hours. A lot of meditation is done in a very effortful way, trying to concentrate, trying to push thoughts away, trying to feel a certain way, which is, as far as I can see and as far as I've experienced trying to practice in that way, is self-defeating. Because any effort to create a non-agitated state of mind that itself is a form of agitation. So we just, it's like trying to relax. It doesn't work. So fortunately, with this natural approach of just being rather than all this strenuous doing, the force of gravity is able to take over very quickly, and just very naturally we settle back into the boundless being awareness, which is what we are at our core. So, a few minutes, something 15, 20 minutes or something like that of meditation every day. And for a lot of people, I think it's good to throw throw the watch out of your meditation space. Don't be going, okay, all right, 17 minutes, 3 more minutes to go, because then you're making it a grind again. Especially if you're coming from a more strenuous routine where you were kind of grinding at your spiritual practice. Really good, throw away the watch. But, it's not one size fits all. If you're coming from, let's say, the opposite direction, where you feel you've really been, things have been too structureless, maybe it's good to have a little quiet alarm that goes off after 20 minutes or something. We're grown-ups here. We can take an active hand in shaping our practice. So to me, the minimum is daily sitting practice. And then also during the day, as the mind and the emotions, the nervous system, the whole body, the whole apparatus of individuality, as it gets more and more familiar with this settling back into boundless, featureless being, awareness, our core, as it becomes more familiar, more and more we can notice it during the day, that it hasn't gone away. It's not something special that we create through meditation. We just, by being quiet and sitting with our eyes closed, we get a little more opportunity to notice it. But as it becomes more familiar, we can realize, okay, when I'm waiting in the doctor's office, when I'm sitting on the bus, when I'm walking my dog, instead of automatically distracting myself with my phone or something, I can notice, oh, yeah, this beingness, which in meditation was there along with the thoughts, along with the sensations, along with the sounds. It's also here along with walking my dog, along with standing in line for my coffee from the barista. So some sense of that during the day. Some sense of that, and then that feeds in. There's a kind of a synergy where notice, just allowing ourselves, just not working at it, just being in a very loose, easygoing, natural way, being open to the experience of boundless beingness, the boundless okayness of that, right? Being aware of that during the other 23 and a half hours of the day means that then when we sit to meditate the next time, it's like, oh yeah, right. This is. I've had some participation in this, some openness to this all day. So it's right here. So there's no work to the meditation, right? Just and then vice versa. The settling into it in sitting meditation means that it's more kind of right at hand. Of course, how did I ever miss it? Right here as I'm walking around during the day, dealing with things, conversing with people. So something like that. To me, that's a very kind of practical, doable, humane approach. And then whatever other things you like to do, whatever you enjoy, if you enjoy chanting mantras, right, which I happen to do, I'm singing mantras in the shower every morning, right? There's a nice pun on the word enjoy. We're in joy. When we're doing it in joy, not that, if I do 100,000 repetitions of this mantra, someday, there'll be a pot of gold at the end, a spiritual pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. No, I'm doing it because I love doing it. And if you don't love doing it, don't. And if you like doing physical yoga, and if you like reading books about awakening, then great. And if not, then don't. You've done them. You've done. I think if you're sitting every day and you're just having this just kind of general, easygoing, natural openness to where's that flavor, that one taste of beingness that runs through everything, then I think you're doing great. Yes. So a couple of sessions back, Elise, you asked about daily practice, and I talked about it in terms of having your schedule set up to meditate every day, and then going into activity and just having the sense of even in the midst of activity, finding to what degree you can be relaxing back into beingness, even as you're acting and interacting. And I realized after the session that I left out one crucial thing. So I'm going to take this opportunity to append it. The one other crucial thing is in activity, be kind. In activity, be lean toward always being kinder than necessary. Lean toward being just without straining, just being a little bit nicer, a little bit nicer. One thing that does is, just in the simplest of terms, it makes life more pleasant for everyone. Uh, I mean, geez, what if 8 billion people all at once decided to, everyone's going to be a little nicer to each other, a little kinder than necessary? What a transformation of the world that would be, right? So that starts with us. The other thing is, every time we choose to be kinder than necessary, more generous than necessary, that's helping to break down the false identification with personhood, aka ego, the false identification with being just a wave, right? If I'm a wave over here and you're a wave over here and there's no such thing as an ocean, there's no reason for me to be nice to you unless I'm doing it in some transactional way. I'm trying to just as a strategy. That'll allow me to get something from you. But but other than that, if all there is I'm a wave over here, you're a wave over here, it makes sense for me to do whatever I can to steal as much water from your wave and pour it on myself to make my wave bigger. Okay? And that's the model. It's probably not spelled out in people's minds, but that's the model that a lot of people live by, as a matter of fact. Right? Sadly, in a sense, I mean that's the just pure materialist model. There's no real convincing reason for ethical behavior if in a materialist model of existence. But you know, we've all kind of opted for for lack of a better word, the spiritual model, which is to recognize, oh, we're not isolated waves. Waves only exist as an expression of the ocean. And I experience every time I meditate melting, melting, melting out of my wave hood into my ocean hood. And whoa, there's all the fulfillment that I was trying to find by stealing water from that wave over there. There's all the bigness, all the vastness I could ever desire without hurting anyone else, right? So the more we experience that, then when we go back into interaction with people, the more we realize that being unkind, being ungenerous, just reinforces the illusion that I'm a wave, isolated from the wave that you are. Every time we give, then we're reinforcing the spiritual model, the ocean model. So that's a really, really important part of daily practice. And this is recognized in the texts of all the traditions. Um, in the Buddhist teachings, there's something called the six paramitas. Some of you are probably familiar with this. The six paramitas, the six transcendental virtues, the six virtues that help promote awakening. And they're in a particular order. And the very first one is dana, dana paramita, which means generosity. It's the first thing to know about how to function in the world. And in the Christian tradition, in one of the epistles of Paul, he says it's usually misquoted as it's better to give than to receive. What it actually says is it is more blessed to give than to receive. Right? More blessed. It's more, which to me means more opening of more opening into our innate fastness. Okay. And that's
Yeah.
something we can practice without any sense of, oh, am I being too strict with myself? Am I being well, I mean, anything can be twisted into being done. And there are people who make generosity, straining at it and then turning it into martyrdom or something like that. But that's not what we're talking about here. We just find there's a very natural, easygoing way to be generous. Even, I went through a whole process yesterday. My wife and I, we had to go buy a car, and oh my God, are we buying the right one? Are we, it can be a stressful process. And I mean, for me, it's pretty much a habit. Just everyone I dealt with, the salesman and the finance guy and and all that, just finding a way to make everyone smile, just saying something, try to get a laugh out of everyone I deal with. I mean, that's just habitual for me, and I just find, boy, it just makes life so much more pleasant, and it's probably as important to my process, whatever's going on here, whatever hopefully is some process of awakening. That's just as important as meditation.
It's funny that you say this because it makes me think a little bit of like bhakti yoga, which is kind
Yes,
of that part of
devotion.
that,
Hmm.
joyfulness.
Yeah.
And I was actually thinking about bhakti yoga when you were talking to Charlie,
Hmm.
because when he was talking about the physical aspect, I was like, and obviously I think asana is great. I teach asana. It's
Right.
amazing. But I was
Hmm.
also thinking about like maybe sometimes, for me at least, sometimes it needs to be more bhakti, like joyful movement sometimes that
Yeah.
isn't structured, because sometimes yeah, you know what I mean?
Yes, I
So
do. You're
I
right.
thought it
Thank
was
you. Thank you.
it was
Thank.
interesting that it can all kind of like it all loops back into each other in the end anyways.
Right.
But
Right. Charlie, dance. Dance. Do you dance? Okay. Well,
No, no, but I'll start.
okay. Okay. Well, put on your favorite rock and tunes and shake your booty. Yeah. No. And I was on this one retreat in India actually with this Jamaican teacher Muji that I used to study with, and uh, and there was a lot of meditation and a lot of he does a lot of what's called self-inquiry, a lot of the investigating, who or what is experiencing these experiences in this moment. Who am I? Who am I in the tradition of Ramana Maharshi? So all this, and then the last night of the retreat was the dance, and he was very specific about they had the lights really low so that even though the room was, there was I think a couple of hundred of us in the room. You didn't pretty much see other people clearly. And he was real clear. He said, "You're not strutting your stuff for other people. You're not performing. You're not, what you're doing is just feeling the music and let it move your body." And uh, particularly as someone who in high school, when uh, the Friday night dances, that was the big social event. And I was someone at the time who was so in my head, and I was very jealous of the guys who had older sisters, who the sisters would turn on. This is from the era I grew up with. They would turn on American Bandstand, right, with Dick Clark, and that their older sisters would make them dance with them. So those guys knew all the dance moves, and I would watch them, and I would just feel, wait, how do you do that? And I just felt so awkward in my body, and I was miserable. I would just walk around the perimeter of the floor, and how do you do that? I was just way too inhibited and way too stuck in my head. And eventually I realized that it was initially what it took from me was marijuana actually uh, was smoking pot to get past my head and just to really just feel the music in my body and let the music move my body around and not worry about whether my moves look cool to anyone or not. And then after a while, I realized that that I didn't need the marijuana. And yeah, so that's you know, Yaf and I we do that a lot. We it's 10 o'clock. It's too cold to take a walk. Crank it up. Start dance party time. Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. And also, if specifically, Elise mentioned bhakti yoga, uh, which is devotional yoga. If you find yourself turned on in some way by uh, you know singing the mantras and sing and in there's different styles of doing mantra. The Tibetans sit they sit up and they chant, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, and so forth. But then there's the kirtan tradition in India where you're playing your instruments, you're dancing, you're clapping. We have a thing here in Santa Monica once a year. It's actually in several places all over the world. First Sunday in August, it's the Jagannath Festival, uh, with these three big carts carrying these idols that are connected with Krishna. And in the tradition in India is that these giant carts, Lord Juggernaut is the name of one of the deities. And by the way, the English word juggernaut, meaning something that just keeps moving, don't get in its way because it'll run you over. That word juggernaut comes from Jagannath. And so traditionally in India, they're pulled by elephants and they pull them to the sea. So here in Santa Monica, they comes down Main Street and then goes to Venice Beach. They got motors and also the humans come along and help pull it, and that's supposed to be a big blessing. So, but what's great is you get people from all over the country come, and they're in there, and a lot of Indians in their beautiful saris, and everyone's dancing and joyfully singing, and well, it's great. It's great. But it's this again, and I'm singing gospel on Wednesdays. You can't sit still when you're singing those tunes. I'm on my feet, and most of us are on our feet, and we're moving around, and so you can be sing Hare Krishna, you can sing Hallelujah. Uh, you know, Pick your mantra, pay your nickel, and pick your mantra. It's all good.